Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to deny this request. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so,
Is there a reason why?
You'll receive the board's written decision within 45 days.
And then can we appeal that?
You can.
yes,
This season?
thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, next we have 4-4 of 23, application of Moni Beard for a special exception pursuant to section 550-18B to permit an accessory recreational use within 3 feet of the property line where 5 feet is required. The location is situated at 2444 Stony Brook Lane, Drexel Hill, in the R3 Fourth Council District.
The board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet. ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. Is there any persons in the gallery who wish to take or request party status for this application? Seeing none, Mr. Beard?
How you doing?
Okay, can we have Mr. Beard sworn, please?
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Beard, can you explain the location and request for your accessory recreational use?
Okay, the location is in my backyard. It's about a 4-foot high, I think it's 10 by 16 snap together swimming pool.
Okay.
The requirement, I think, says 5 feet. I think it might be actually at 3 feet, maybe if not right before 3 feet from the property line that I was asking for the variance for.
So you're looking to locate the above-ground swimming pool within no closer than 3 feet from about 3 feet from the property line?
That's correct.
Do you want me to ask the questions, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. Is the lot, do you know the width of your lot?
No, I drew it out and put it in the packet. I don't know it offhand.
So if I represented to you that your drawing said that your backyard is 15.5 feet wide and 40 by 49 and a half feet, would that sound accurate?
Yes,
Uh, And there's a fence around your property?
yes.
Is there any landscaping in your backyard between you and your adjoining neighbors?
No, they have bushes on their property, which is, one is directly to behind the pool, and I believe that one is somewhere in the middle of their yard.
Do you have any plans to install any landscaping in your backyard around to shield the pool from your adjoining neighbors?
So I have mulch going around the pool. I had like bricks going around, so when the water does spill, it spills onto the mulch. And I actually put plastic underneath of the pool and the mulch.
And do you plan on planting any trees or bushes?
No.
Other questions from the board?
Is this already in existence?
Yes, I actually put up last year, and he came by around like August and told me to apply for it. So that's when I shut it down, applied, was denied. And since it was winter time, I said I'll wait until the spring to do the variance.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Could you move the pool over? I'm sorry, could you tell me, is there a problem for you to move the pool over to keep it in compliance?
Not gonna move it over. He just, once they denied me, I spoke with him. He said, you can just apply for the within 3 feet. If I needed to move it over, I could have, but he just told me to go about it this route. I mean, it would have saved me $350.
So is the pool up right now?
It's up.
It's up. So, and it's been in the same location the entire time.
Yes.
What's the hardship?
Are you able to move the pool?
I can move it. It's just a snap together pool. I can easily drag it down a little bit.
And if, well, you're,
When you say,
well,
I'm sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
the pool is 16 by 10.
I believe it's, 10 by 16, 16 feet long, 10 feet wide.
So the pool is 16 by 10 and the width of the backyard is 15 and a half feet. So we're not going to, it will never achieve 5 feet from the property lines. We have another negative number again. All right, any other questions from the board?
I have none.
All right, is there any public comment on this application? Is seeing none, is the board ready to make a motion or do we need deliberation?
I'm ready. Are you ready? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all. You have a good night.
You'll receive a written decision within 45 days. All right, last one.
And now we're at 4-5 of 23, application for Octavio, is it Meja? For a variance for section 558A, table 3-1, to permit a car detailing business in the R3 residential district. Location is situated at 40 South Linden, Upper Darby, PA, the R3, 4th Council District.
Before I turn it over to Mr. Silvestro, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet, ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Is there anyone in the gallery this evening who would like to request party status for this application? All right, Mr. Silvestro, it is Mr. Silvestro, right?
It is.
Okay, just want to make sure. If you will yield the podium, and we can have you come up one at a time. Doesn't matter who's first. I mean, it may. So just to reiterate, party status will give you the ability to cross-examine the witnesses, present your own testimony, receive a copy of the decision, and take an appeal if you do not agree with the board's decision. You understand? Okay. So ma'am, please step forward. Do you have the party status form? You can hand it to Ms. Newell. And if you will introduce yourself and your address,
Hi,
please.
my name is Teresa Howell, and I live at 37 South Kirkland Avenue, which is directly behind 40 South Linden.
Mr. Silvestro, do you have any objection to the party status of Ms. Howell?
What is the basis of your interest?
My interest is that I live in a residential neighborhood, and I really do not want this business in my backyard.
You're an adjoining, does your property adjoin the,
Yes, I have pictures to show.
okay.
I'm sorry? Teresa Howell, Howell.
I can note your objection for the record, Mr. Silvestro, but I would recommend to the board that we grant party status. Okay. Anybody else?
My name is Miriam Rossi. I live at 41 South Kirkland Avenue. My property is exactly behind the garage that they are using right now to detail cars. It butts up against my backyard. Marianne, last name Rossi, Rossi.
Mr. Silvestro?
My objection, please.
Noted. I would recommend to the board we grant
Sorry.
Ms. Rossi party status. Okay. You're granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Please come forward.
My name is Dolores Lombardi. I live at 29 South Kirkland Avenue. My backyard is about 60 feet from their backyard where the business is being run.
Can you please spell your name for the court reporter?
Dolores is Dolores, and Lombardi is Lombardi.
Mr. Silvestro? Noted. I would recommend that we grant Ms. Lombardi party status.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Anybody else? Oh.
My name is Gerald Harrison. I also live at 29 South Kirkland Avenue. And as my wife just stated, our property is within 60 or 70 feet on a diagonal from the backyard of this proposed car detailing business and the garage that's currently there.
Same objection, Mr. Silvestro?
It would be a general objection and a second objection based on duplicative. If they live in the same house, the objection is still the same, so I would ask that it be
Okay.
denied for the fact that it's duplicative.
Noted. I would recommend we grant Mr. Harrison party status.
Second.
Okay, thank you,
sorry.
Mr. Harrison.
What was the decision?
You're granted party status.
Thank you very much.
And I believe we have one more. Did you happen to fill out the party status form?
I did not.
It's up on the front table, but if you can, we'll have you put it on the record and then if you can fill it out after. Your name
Danielle Blackwell,
and where do you reside?
33 South Linden Avenue.
I'm sorry?
33 South Linden Avenue.
4th District Councilwoman.
Yes, as well.
And your proximity to the
I'm right across from
across the street?
property. Yes.
Mr. Silvestro? Okay. I would recommend we grant Ms. Blackwell party status. Okay.
Second.
Thank you. And Ms. Blackwell, if you don't mind filling out that form so we have it for the record. Thank you. All right. So we have 5 parties to this. Mr. Silvestro, if you can proceed with your case.
Okay. Panel, I have Joseph Silvestro, Silvestro. My Supreme Court ID number is 86275. Mr. Chaska, will you be able to bring those photos up? Okay. As such, panel, may I approach it?
Yes.
Mark the exhibits.
So we'll note exhibits A1, A2, and A3. For the record, they are all photographs.
Panel, like a opening statement, or should I just go to testimony?
That's up to you.
Okay. What I have here is an individual who is the sole owner of the property at 40 South Linden Avenue. The garages. Yeah. At one point, he worked at a car wash, was laid off, didn't have any way to support his family. As such, he took some of the clients that he met while he was at the car wash and he started doing detail work for them at his home. It appears that he has a double lot. He has a driveway that can accommodate up to 8 cars. He has a significantly large garage, and it is completely encased and self-sufficient, and that's where he has been conducting his work. At this point, I'd like to take some testimony. My client does not speak English and needs an interpreter, so the gentleman standing next to Mr. Mejia is an interpreter, so he needs to be sworn in.
They'd both need to be sworn, yes.
My name is Diego Patino. I'm the interpreter, Mr. Mejia.
Can you both raise your right hands, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And then my name,
Diego Patino.
spell
Patino. Diego Patino, Patino.
What's your first name?
Diego, Diego.
May I?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Mejia, are you the rightful owner and the legal owner of the property at 40 South Linden Avenue?
¿Usted es el dueño propio?
Yes.
Who do you live there with?
¿Con quién
South
vive?
Linden Avenue. Oh,
¿Con quién vive ahí en la casa?
con my wife and my sons.
How many sons?
Sorry, can you just do me a favor? Either, can you answer for him,
Oh.
or can you answer everything? It's not.
No, no, no.
Y yo le respondo.
Yeah,
With the wife and the kids.
How many children do you have?
5.
¿Cuántos niños?
And they all live at the
My
residence
house.
with you?
Yeah.
Todos viven con usted, ¿no?
Yeah.
Yes, they all live with him.
And at some point were you employed by a car wash?
¿Era usted empleado de un car wash?
Sí, solo yo y mi
Yes.
esposa.
And at some point were you laid off from that job?
¿Usted fue dado de baja en el trabajo, sí?
Sí, fui dado de baja por este trabajo.
Yes,
por mí mismo.
was laid off.
Did you start taking private clients at your home?
Usted empezó a coger clientes en su casa
Para hacer los
para hacer
trabajos.
trabajos. Yes, he
And
did.
you would,
I didn't, did you answer?
Yes, he did.
Please move forward, please.
Yes, he did.
and what kind of services were you performing at your home?
¿Qué servicio está en su casa? Dice.
Detail cars.
Detail cars.
And did you advertise or were you just taking appointments privately by appointment?
¿Usted
Solo
hizo,
appointments.
hizo negocio, hizo cartas o solo appointments?
Solo appointments.
Just appointments.
And do you have any signage on your property?
¿Tiene signs en su propiedad? ¿Letreros? Nada. No, he doesn't.
Okay. Do you take any customers other than by appointment?
¿Coge clientes más otros de appointments o solo appointments?
Solo appointments.
Just appointments.
And prior to doing detail work at your home, on your property, did you explore the option of a garage off-site?
¿Usted trató de buscar un negocio otro por ahí, renta o algo de eso?
Sí, pero está muy caro, no encuentro.
Yes, he did, but too expensive. Can't afford it.
Okay. So did you start doing detail in your garage?
Si usted pensó hacer detail en su garage. Yes, he did.
Now, if you can look at the screen, is that your garage?
Mire a la foto, dice, ¿ese es su garaje?
Sí,
Yes, this
And
is.
is the door operable? Does it go up and down?
La puerta se abre y se baja?
sí.
Yes.
And it looks like there's a grate in front of it. Is that a water runoff and does that work?
Eso es como drenaje del agua de frente?
Sí.
Yes, it is.
And do you also have to the right of the structure as you face it, do you have a driveway that leads out to the street?
Tiene a la derecha de eso, tiene un driveway
Sí.
a la calle. Yes, it is.
And how many cars on the cement portion of your driveway can you fit at one time?
¿Cuántos cars pueden dar en su driveway? Dice, hasta la calle.
8.
Like 8 cars.
And at one point, did a representative from the Upper Darby municipality talk to you about parking cars on the grass?
Un tiempo le dijeron que no parquen cars ahí en la hierba.
No hay parqueado.
He did, but he's not parking there.
Since then, have you ceased having any cars parked on there?
Dice que no ha parqueado más cars de esa
No.
vez. No, he didn't.
Is that the inside of the garage that you looked at before?
Ese es dentro del garaje suyo, ¿no?
Sí.
Yes.
And how many cars can you fit in that garage at the same time?
¿Cuántos cars pueden dar en su garaje?
2.
Like 2 cars.
Okay, and are those all your tools for detailing on the perimeter of the garage?
Esas son las herramientas de su garaje.
Sí.
Yes.
Are there any tools that you use or any machinery that you use during the course of your detailing which cause a loud noise?
Set the vacuum.
Algunas máquinas dicen que sean más altas del vacuum.
No, el vacuum.
Just the vacuum.
Vacuum would be the loudest.
The vacuum with the loudest.
The picture that is on the screen now, is that in your garage as well?
¿Esa foto está en su garaje?
Sí.
Yes.
And what is that area used for?
Para que utilizar.
Para estar sentado yo ahí descansando.
It's for like just him and like clients.
What is that? Para estar sentado ahí.
It's like for just like sit down area for like a break-in or something.
Sentado ahí descansando.
Break-in or customers, kind of like if you cars are coming a car or something to the waiting area.
So while you're detailing cars, your customers wait in that seating area.
Cuando usted detalla el carro, el cliente le espera ahí. ¿Sí, no?
Sí.
Yes.
Do your customers ever park on the street?
Sus clientes parquean en la calle.
No.
No.
Sí.
Nothing further, panel.
All right. We'll start with questions from the parties. That microphone probably doesn't stretch out, does it? So we'll start with Ms. Howell. Do you have any questions for this witness? This is just questions for the witness.
I really don't have any questions. I have more statements.
Okay, we'll wait for that. Ms. Rossi, do you have any questions for this witness? Okay. Ms. Lombardi, any? So if we can get you on a microphone, would you mind? Well, I'm going to have you, can you come over to the side one here?
Me to come here?
Yes, because he'll have to use one to answer.
My question is to the point that you were asked about whether you had or done any advertisement or had public clients, and the answer was no. I have to say, I have an ad from Google Maps advertising your business. I ran into it one year on Google Maps, and it gives the hours it's open. It's got references. So did you ever advertise on Google your business?
Usted ha hecho en Google, ha hecho como
No.
business.
No.
Well,
No.
this was in 2017, and I called Upper Darby L&I after this.
Ms.
because-
Ms.
Oh,
Lombardi,
you don't want to hear the name?
just questions,
Okay.
and then if you have testimony about that, you can offer that during your portion.
Okay, well, that was the question, and his answer was no.
Okay, thank you. Well, Ms. Blackwell, do you have questions for this witness?
No, I have always wondered how the water go down, but you explained it, that there's a drain there, so that's great, because I've never seen water come out of that property
Okay,
or anything else, so that's explains the question.
thank you, Ms. Blackwell. Okay, do you have any redirect based on that cross?
I do not, panel.
All right. Does the board have any questions? All right.
So, and I might have missed it, but I just wanted to clarify, what are the hours of operation for the business?
¿Cuáles son las horas de operación de su negocio? ¿Qué horas abre, qué horas cierra?
No trabajo mucho, solo de 9 a 5, 9 a 4.
9 to 4.
4 p.m., like
4
after?
p.m., yes, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
How long has the facility been in operation? Like, how long has the business been open for?
¿Qué tiempo tiene abierto usted más o menos? ¿De cuándo? ¿Qué tiempo? Like a year, you say?
Do you have like a month?
No sé, un mes, dice más o menos. Year, month.
¿Qué mes?
Sí, más o menos.
Un año, septiembre.
Like September,
September, this, last year?
last year.
Last year, okay. Pass it off to my colleagues.
Do you pay any business tax?
Sí paga business taxes.
Sí.
Yes, he does.
How much do you pay during the year?
¿Cuánto paga más o menos al año?
Este año pagué 6,800.
6,800. He's paid this year.
That's for the business, not real estate tax.
That's for the business, no?
Sí.
Yes,
yeah.
for the business.
Thank you.
You just said that, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Mr. Harrison, I'm sorry. I did leave you off, but I will get you once the board has done their questions, okay? Yes.
You said that how long has the business been in operation?
¿Qué tiempo desde los business? September last year, like a year.
Okay. And there was, I think someone mentioned 2017, a Google,
I believe that was in Ms. Lombardi's questioning, so
Oh.
she might have to testify to that
okay,
date.
okay, you can forget that. So my other question would be around the space that you have there for your customers. Do you ever have more than 2 customers at a time in that space or maybe outside?
Sí, he tenido más clientes, más de dos al tiempo, pero uno, ¿no? Just one, like appointments only, kind of dos.
So is that a yes, you have more than 2 customers, or is that,
Tiene uno
and if
más.
so, how many more?
Like a two.
So maybe 2 additional customers?
No, just two clients.
Just 2 clients?
Two clients.
Okay, okay. And how many people are working with you?
¿Cuántas personas trabajan con ustedes? Just him, his son, and his wife.
And I'm going to assume, do cars run like fumes when you're doing detailing?
Si los carros están prendidos cuando usted hace el detail. No.
There's no reason to turn the car on,
There's no
other than to move it into the location to wash or detail?
razón de prender para mover y nomás. Yes, no reason to move the cars.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mejia, does your business have a name?
Tiene su nombre, su taller. Sí, auto detail. Auto detail.
You don't call it anything? It doesn't have a business name?
No.
Okay.
Auto detail. Another name.
Do your clients remain on the property as you detail, or do people drop their cars off and come back to pick them up at a later time?
Los clientes a veces se quedan o a veces dejan y se van. They sometimes leave it and take, and they leave the car and then detail. Sometimes they wait.
So about how many cars do you have on the property at any one time?
¿Cuántos carros más o menos ustedes tienen en la propiedad?
Dos, tres.
2 or 3.
Do you operate on the weekends?
Si trabajan los fines de semana. Just Saturdays, no Sundays.
And how many cars do you detail a week?
¿Cuántos carros detallan a la semana más o menos?
Pongamos dos diarios, 2 por 5, 10 carros.
Like 10 cars? 10.
Did you construct this garage?
¿Usted hizo el garaje? Yes, he did.
Did you
Yes, he did.
okay. Did you construct the garage for the business?
¿Usted hizo para el negocio o hizo el garaje nomás?
No, hice para mí nomás, pero cuando me botaron del trabajo, le hice para lavar los carros.
He did it, but he got laid off, so he kind of like started the business there. But
Go ahead.
Are there any music or entertainment that's given to the customers while you're waiting?
si les da algún entretenimiento a los clientes, algo que mientras ellos están esperando, algún entretenimiento como las sodas o algo al final. No.
So you mentioned for the equipment that you're using at at your facility, it's equivalent to like a vacuum cleaners, like the Loudest. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you said you operate that. How long would you say that you're using that machine for? Like, does it go for an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes?
¿Qué tiempo ocupa el vacuum más o menos cuando pasa la media hora, 1 hora, 2 horas?
Media hora, 10, 20, media hora.
Max half an hour.
Max, half an hour. Gotcha.
Do you use any blowers?
Utiliza algunos sopladoras.
Sí sopla, pero no suena.
It does, but it doesn't make it that louder than the vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum.
It's louder, the vacuum.
What time of day is this operating?
I'm sorry?
What time of day do you do the car detailing?
¿Qué horas hace el car detail ese? 9 a 4, dijo, ¿no? 9 to 4 p.m.
9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
9 a.m. sí, 4 p.m.
Is there any outdoor storage?
¿Tiene afuera algún storage? No.
No. What is the area next to the garage used for?
¿Cuál es la área? Dice que está al lado del garaje. ¿Tiene algún área más?
No, ahí está la...
Is another picture like shown in there? Like, dice que tiene otra área de algún storage.
No, ahí están mis máquinas de construcción.
So what is the area to the right of the garage used for?
Al lado derecho, dice que esta es el área. ¿Qué es el área de son herramientas?
Sí, herramientas de la construcción que arregla la casa.
Just the tools for like his tools, any like lawnmower stuff like that.
So because you're operating the business within the garage, you store your tools outside?
Como las herramientas afuera, dice, porque está ocupando el garaje. Yes.
Go ahead.
How is trash and waste disposed of from the business? Is it put into like the general municipal waste or system, like the trash trucks, et cetera, or is there something else?
¿Cómo quita la basura de todos los lados?
No hay mucha basura. Yo pongo en fundas negras y se lleva todo.
He put in trash bags and take it out in the curb.
Okay.
The trash, yeah.
Other questions from the board? We'll give Mr. Harrison a shot to ask his questions, and if anything else comes up. Mr. Harrison, question, your turn.
Speak here? Okay, got it.
If you don't want to do the step, you can always just turn the microphone.
Appreciate it.
You're on.
No, it's not green.
Just touch it, right.
It's green now.
Gotcha.
Question. Is the vacuum cleaner the only power tool you use on that property to do your business?
Sí, el vacuum dice el único para que usted ocupa alguna cosa más.
El power wash. Pero no suena. El vacuum suena más, nada más.
He's saying the power wash, like a motor, just an electric motor.
Do you ever use a hand power tool that does buffing of paint jobs and other things like that?
Si utiliza any other such stuff. No.
Do you ever use a hand power tool to remove lug nuts, to remove and replace tires?
No, he doesn't.
Do you ever use hammers?
Utiliza martillos. No hammers.
No.
Does your business ever emit smoke that can be smelled in the neighborhood?
Se hace humo, se percibe en el medio.
Solo hago barbecue, nada más. No más.
When he does barbecues.
El barbecue.
Okay. You said you do not advertise your business.
Objection, asked and answered.
¿De qué?
Pardon me?
Objection, asked and answered.
Question.
Question, Mr. Harrison.
How do you explain that advertisement that my wife just presented on the internet? If you don't advertise, who did it?
Como explica, dice, es lo que han hecho en esta
Una vez había unos amigos que vinieron, estaban jugando con eso y ellos habían subido. Yo dije que no hagan eso.
One time, some of the friends, they did it for him. Like he wasn't actually did it, but they kind of like they advertised it for him.
Oh, excuse me, that's beside the point. The fact is, your business has been advertised on the internet,
Sir,
no
you-
matter who did it.
Mr. Harrison, you'll have your opportunity to testify.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to it.
Some follow-up questions. Do you use an air compressor?
Utiliza compresor de aire.
Sí, pero no suena mucho.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Porque está adentro, no suena mucho.
He got an close air compressor.
Do you use impact tools as part of that air compressor?
Utiliza herramientas para el compresor de aire para que como herramientas como para sacar sonido duro.
No.
No, he doesn't.
In Exhibit A3, this picture here, the items hanging from the rafters, do you offer them for retail sale?
Están ahí, si usted ofrece a los customers para vender.
A veces
Yes, he
ofrecía.
does, sometimes.
Ellos me dijeron que puedo tener, me pedían.
Sorry.
So yes, I think the yes was the answer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
So I just have one final question. You mentioned that you had looked at other properties and they were too expensive. Could you give just an idea as to like what those properties were? When did you look at them? And have you looked at new properties recently or just at the beginning?
¿Sabe más o menos cuánto las propiedades que ha buscado, cuánto valían para rentar? O si ha buscado algo recién para ver si es que halló algo para rentar y
Sí, he
todo.
buscado, pero no he encontrado porque vale mucho y soy pobre y tengo que mantener a mi familia, todo eso, por eso no me mueve, vale mucho. Yo sí busco, pero
Más o menos sabe
no
cuánto.
me alcanza.
Más o menos sabe cuánto.
Valen 900, 700 mil, millón 100.
He said he never find anything, he couldn't afford it, whatever they were asking for price.
I guess my follow-up, just wanted to clarify. So, but since the business has been in operation and obviously you've been making money, have you looked at properties as of late recently now having an operating business?
He buscado alguna, pues, como ya estaba haciendo sus business usted, y ha reunido poco dinero, no ha encontrado algo que pueda comprar y algo mejor ya con que ya tenga un shop y todo eso.
Sí he buscado, pero no he encontrado porque cuesta mucho y he estado pagando mi casa, todo, y he pagado todo eso, digamos. Y por eso me quedaba ahí mismo.
He did find it, but it was too expensive to even buy it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a question around, is there ever a time that someone may bring their car in for detail, but it might need some auto repair work whereby you have to do automotive work on the car, i.e. oil change, fluid change, refrigerant,
Si alguna vez ha
antifreeze?
llegado, o sea, si alguna vez ha llegado con un cliente que usted le está haciendo un cambio de aceite, cambio de llantas, frenos, cosas así.
Sí, pero yo no sé hacer eso. Yo no sé hacer eso.
Yeah, you don't know how to do anything, any auto repair,
No auto repair whatsoever?
no auto repair,
Solo clean.
just cleaning the car,
Just
detail.
Just
Okay.
clean, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anything follow-up?
Just very briefly, panel.
Okay.
Mr. Mejia, is there a fence around the entirety of your property?
Tiene como muralla todo alrededor de su propiedad. Yes,
And how tall is the fence? Is it 6-foot fence or is it shorter?
6.
6 foot fence.
Okay. And during the course of your detailing, can you bring the front door of your garage down?
Cuando está hace detail, ¿se puede cerrar la puerta cuando haga eso?
Sí.
Yes, he can.
Cierro y abro, sí.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Do you have any other witnesses or evidence present? All right, we'll move your 3 exhibits into evidence. Bob, go ahead.
Is the area that you're doing the detailing, is it completely enclosed no sound can go out beyond it?
Dice, donde que hace el diteo está todo cerrado, que no salga sonidos, nada, ¿no?
Sí, todo cerrado.
Yes, it is, everything is closed.
Okay. Y yo no hago bulla, no molesto a nadie.
You say you don't make no noise and doesn't bother nobody.
Okay.
That would make me ask the question of, in the summertime, I'm sorry, when it's hot, do you keep the garage door open while you're detailing?
En el verano, dice usted que mantiene la puerta cerrada o abierta
Abierto,
por el verano.
abierto, está bonito el clima.
You say when the weather is nice, you just leave it open.
All right, well, moving to the portion, I will call the other parties up one at a time to provide any testimony or evidence that they want to provide individually, including your sworn statements. But I will be advised that we will give the board and Mr. Silvestro the opportunity to ask you questions after you make your statements, okay? So we'll start with Ms. Howe. So you can sit down if you'd like.
We can see that, yeah.
Yep. Sir, you can have a seat. Were any of you sworn in yet? So we'll swear
don't believe
swear
so.
you in one at a time before your state testimony.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you reading it?
Am I reading? I just have notes so I won't forget what I want to say. It's noisy out here. As I stated before, I live at 37 South Kirkland, which is directly behind the property at 40 South Linden. I've been in that property for 54 years. First thing, this is a residential family neighborhood. And there is definitely an increase of noise level. I'm sure they're all enclosed and all that, but I live directly. Actually, I would like to give you some pictures of the proximity of the properties, if that's okay. Do I just bring them up to you?
Show them to Mr. Silvestro first, and then
This is my backyard. And this is the property right here. This is my neighbor's yard, and this is the fence. That's the garage, and this is my property right there. Do you need to see?
oh, thank you, Mr. Silvestro.
I have extra copies if you
You
need
do have extra copies? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sure.
Can you, we'll mark these as H1. Again, thank you. Can you describe what these pictures display, please?
Actually, I gave you all the pictures, but
Here, you can have one back. This room makes this very difficult, I apologize.
Get my steps.
Just as long as I get one in the end.
as you're looking at the picture, you'll see the fence. My property is on in front of the fence where the tree is. So this property, the garage is right there. And my neighbor's property next door, she's right on top. And I actually went out today and measured the distance between her fence and the garage. It's 11 inches. That garage was expanded after the people moved into that house. It was not 11 inches originally. You can also see the chimney. This was a heater, some kind of heater. They just had to have that taken down. L&I came out and had them remove that chimney.
Ma'am, can I see that picture?
Mhm.
Is that different than the one that you used before?
No, that's the same picture. This was removed. This was removed. It was illegal.
Are you saying that the chimney as a whole?
The whole thing was removed,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Mr. Silvestro, we do have extra copies, so if you would like one as
That
well.
would be great.
He has to get his steps in.
I also would like to state that it was said that the business was started in September of this year. This business has been going on for many years. It did not start in September of this year. Okay? There's definitely got to be an increase of the noise level. Now, I was curious about where the water went, but they did show the pictures with the drain, and so that obviously, addresses that situation. The air quality definitely has to be affected because there are chemicals that are being used when they are detailing these cars. There's also a There's additional traffic in the neighborhood, and actually, there'll be some pictures given to you later, so you can see how many cars are actually parked in the driveway. More than, there's more than two. And actually, it also leads to a safety issue because there are many children in the area, and there's a lot of elderly people that walk in the area too, and that's actually a danger to them if there's extra cars in the neighborhood. And some of the people, I mean, these are strangers in our neighborhood. I don't know who they are and what they're doing there. So, you know, he says they may be sitting in their garage, but for all I know, they could be roaming around the neighborhood. We really don't know. I already stated about the distance between the garage. And they did talk about the hours of operation. But actually, in closing, it's a very short statement I have. I asked myself this question. I ask you to ask yourselves the same question. What would this enhance? Why would this enhance our neighborhood? And what would it do to enhance our neighborhood? The answer in my mind is nothing. It will do nothing to enhance our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Howe, I'm going to ask Mr. Silvestro if he has any questions for you.
Do you have
Just
it?
a few.
Sure.
Ma'am, the picture that you presented to the board, that chimney, didn't you make a complaint to the
Yes.
L&I department about it?
Because the smell, the odor was absolutely obnoxious and toxic. I would come home in the afternoon and my house smelled like there was something burning inside the house. It just permeated my entire house.
Okay, and isn't it true that in response to that complaint, my client took the chimney down?
I think Ellen and I went out to talk to them, yes, and they took it down.
Okay, so it's no longer an issue.
No, it's not an issue right now.
Okay, and it did show that my client was trying to be compliant and trying to be a good neighbor, didn't it?
I don't think he had a choice, but yes, okay.
Well, he could have contested it, couldn't he? That's why we're here, aren't we?
No.
Okay, he could have done that, but he didn't. He took it down voluntarily, didn't he?
I'm assuming he did.
Okay, and you said that you had an issue with water, correct?
No, I was curious about that, and then obviously that was addressed. You showed the,
Well, if you're sitting in the back, the water isn't running into your property, is it?
I said there was not an issue.
Well, you brought it up, so it was an issue,
I
wasn't
was
it?
curious about it, so
Okay, so now you thought that you'd bring up your curiosity to the panel so that you damage the reputation of my
Mr.
client?
Silvestro, I believe the statement was that she wondered where the water went and it was addressed by the drain that was
exactly.
shown.
Thank you.
Okay. You said that the garage was expanded?
Definitely.
Okay, and when did that happen?
I think right after they moved in. I'm assuming, I think they moved in, it's got to be around 16 years, about the time my husband passed away.
Okay, and do you know whether or not my client had that expansion permitted?
I have no idea.
Okay, would it surprise you if I told you that it was fully permitted in 2013 so that it was approved by the township?
Then that's wonderful.
Okay, nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Silvestro. Ms. Rossi, do you have any questions for Ms. Howe? You're not quite done yet. You'll see, we're going to go through the same pattern each time, but I have to make sure everybody's
Sure, go ahead.
done. Ms. Rossi, do you have any questions for Ms. Howe? Ms. Lombardi? Any questions for Ms. Howe?
Just about the hours of operation, the owner said that it was never on weekends. And have you heard the business running on weekends?
I know there have been cars there on weekends, yes.
And just for clarity, he did say they operate on Saturdays.
Yes.
Okay, let's see, I'll say something in my testimony.
Understood.
Okay.
Mr. Harrison, any questions for Ms. Howe?
Have you seen evidence of activity in form of multiple cars parked there, whether or not there's any detailing going on over the weekends, including Sunday and Saturday? Cars.
Yes, there have been occasions when there have been many cars in the driveway, yes. And they have been parked on the grass. Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Harrison? Ms. Blackwell?
Yes, were you asked to come here by Ms. Lombardi or Mr. Harrison?
Actually, I wasn't asked. They informed me that the hearing was tonight, so it was in my best interest to be here.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Blackwell? Any other questions? All right, any questions from the board for Ms. Howe? Go ahead.
I know it's getting late, so I'll make it quick. When was the first time you remember the business being open? Just give like a month and a year.
I think I was actually still working. I retired in 2015, and I actually have visited the car wash where I really don't even know his name, where he worked, and it's in Berwyn. And so I believe he was actually living there, and he was doing detailing on the side and working. So that was 2015-ish.
Okay, thank you. And then when do you last remember the noise level being at an elevated level that you noticed from your own house?
Honestly, I can't really give you a specific on that.
And just a question, do you know how far your property is from their property line, like give or take?
You can look at the pictures. Honestly, don't know. I know that they put that fence up, and then their detailing is right there, right beyond the fence.
And they mentioned a vacuum cleaner. Have you heard that vacuum cleaner?
I can't say that I actually have heard it, no.
Have you heard their power washing at all?
Not necessarily the power washing, but there have been other noises coming from the property from time to time,
Could you describe those? Like just in general? if you
just
could?
in general.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Ms. Howe?
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
When you said you've seen multiple cars there, I think you said over the weekend or maybe other than Saturday or Sunday, on Saturday or Sunday. Do you know if they were cars to be worked on, or could they be family cars or?
Can't honestly say. It could have been visiting, but Ms.
Okay.
Lombardi actually has pictures that will show you the amount of cars that have been parked in that lot, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Howe.
You're welcome.
Ms. Rossi? You can come up, we'll have you sworn in.
Please raise your hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I don't have much to add. I just wanted to come because I live directly behind the property. And I do hear the noise. I can hear compressor, I can hear, like, it's warm out now. So my windows are open, my back door is open, and mostly on the weekends, I can absolutely hear noise. There's cars parked. We all took pictures because we all put similar complaints in about the chimney. So I have a picture with the chimney, I have a picture of cars, and I have a picture of my garage and the distance from their garage to my property. But I just don't, I live in a residential area. Why do we need a commercial car wash and detailing business in a residential area? And there are things, there's more noise, there's more cars. And I just don't think it makes sense. I have pictures, they're very similar to Mrs. Howe's and Mrs. Lombardi's. It shows cars on both sides of the house and then a back view.
Are there any pictures that you want to offer to the
Yep.
board, or
Okay.
just show them to Mr. Silvestro first, please?
Very similar. I actually took them from my attic.
You just have to talk loud enough so the court report.
From the attic window.
And we'll mark this as R1. So you said these were taken, can I just ask for clarity, what is the picture with the stones in it?
So that's my backyard, so, I can just point out. This is the back of my garage, and that's a stone, it's a weed kind of repellent, and that's their garage.
So the
So there's like
just
maybe
for
3
dis-
feet from my garage to like the property line.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have anything else to state, Ms. Rossi?
No, just that because it's right behind my property, I probably hear it more so than maybe Mrs. Howe or Mrs. Lombardi, especially this time of the year. But I have nothing more to add.
Mr. Silvestro, any questions for Ms. Rossi?
Just briefly. Ma'am, when was the picture, the bottom picture taken? Do you remember? I'm sorry.
Oh. This was in probably last year, 2022. And yes, that chimney has been removed.
The chimney has been removed?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right. Okay. And do you know that a complaint was made about the cars on the lawn?
That I was unaware of.
Okay.
Aware of the chimney complaint.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great. Ms. Howell, do you have any questions for Ms. Rossi? No, I do not. Ms. Lombardi for Ms. Rossi? Mr. Harrison? Ms. Blackwell? Any? Okay.
Can you come up if you're gonna ask questions? I can't really hear you from over there.
The mic.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just wondering about the noise level. Would you say it's the sound of the trash trucks that come down, or is it a constant noise level?
Well, it's not constant. It's, sometimes the compressor, I guess, like when they're washing the cars. But there is a degree of noise, but not as loud as a trash truck or anything like that.
Okay, and what about the lawnmowers? Is it louder than that? Or about the same, or just,
You mow your lawn, it takes an hour. They're open from 9 to 4 on the weekends or so it could be sporadically during the day.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. Questions from the board for Ms. Rossi?
Hi, Ms. Rossi.
Hello.
When was the picture that shows this, you hear the vehicles?
The
on lawn?
vehicles, they were taken at the same time. I want
Here?
to say it was 2022, last year.
So have you seen anything like this recently? Like a lot of cars
Oh,
on the
yes,
premises?
the cars, the chimney is gone, but there are cars.
The cars that,
Yes.
as clients come in, that's where they park? and-
That is my assumption. There's, the garage is there. There's always cars lined up, I assume. I can't be sure that they are, people bringing their cars to be detailed.
And I'm only assuming they're being worked on because I see car doors open, so.
Right, and
Okay,
there have been times when cars are parked there all day and maybe leave the next day. So I'm sure there's times when people drop their cars off and leave them and come back later.
okay, thank you.
I'll be really quick, same questions. When was the first time you remember the business being open?
It's been years. I would say more than 5 years, for sure.
Okay. So like 2017?
Mhm.
Okay. When did you last remember the noise levels at an elevated level?
Actually, this time of the year. In the wintertime, my windows are closed, my doors are closed, I'm in the house. But now that the weather's getting nicer, windows are open. I can hear them talking back there, so it's not, I assume that the garage door is up. I can hear voices as well as equipment.
And
Not-
so, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No,
but
sure.
When you mentioned that in the winter you have like your windows and stuff, do you not hear the noise from your house?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Do you have any problems with the chemicals that are used? Does it create an odor in your house in the summer?
Sometimes you can smell things, I don't know, not as much now that the chimney's down. I don't know what they were burning. I really don't have any details, but not a lot of chemicals.
board questions? Thank you, Ms. Rossi.
Hmm?
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Lombardi?
I have,
Well, we'll have you sworn first, just one
okay.
second.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Go.
Okay, I have a couple page handout to give out. Um,
Mark this as L1.
And there's 2 pages.
Can we mark it as one exhibit, or do you want them marked
Oh,
separately?
you can mark them as one.
Go ahead.
All right. This is the ad from Google Maps, which I ran into in 2017. I was actually looking at something in my neighborhood and it popped up. As to like, how long has the business been running? At one point, I don't know the year because I wasn't taking notes of it at that, but the house was sold, the new people moved in, and they were doing a lot of work on the house. So there was noise from them fixing up the house, which everybody understood was a good thing. But then the noise never ended. So they were fixing, and it just went on and on and on. And then you realize that I was getting a lot of noise in my backyard because I do like to sit in my backyard coming from their property. And particularly back in 2017, there was lots of banging, clanging noises, automated type of machine noises, compressors. And so it was bothering me, really bothering me, but I saw this ad and that gave me the impetus to call L&I. I called L&I and reported it, and they closed the business. And in fact, the L&I person I spoke to said, I will take them to court. I don't know that he did or didn't, but he closed the business. So it quieted down for a while. For about a year, it was quiet. And then it started up again, a year later, little by little. Not as noisy. Then we had the COVID years when most things were shut down, but it's been getting busier more recently. The picture below I took just last March. So this is a picture of the yard as it was that day. And in fact, I couldn't get a picture of the rest of the driveway. So you see these 5 vehicles. You might see the beginning and the end of the tail. There was a truck behind that and cars behind that. And so that's on South Linden Avenue. And I want to make the point now, South Linden Avenue only allows parking on one side of the street. And we have Ivy and Botanic Courts right there that don't have enough parking and they feed into South Linden Avenue. So this gets to be a heavily parked up little section down there where this auto body place is. Now, on the next page, there's been some discussion about the smokestack. So in 2022, began to smell burning to the point, and even in my bedroom, I was getting sore throats and saw the smokestack. And I reported it to requests at upperdarby.org, and then the smoke stopped. And so that was a year ago. And then again, it started up again this year, just a few months ago. So we reported it again, and now more recently, like within the last month, it seems, the smokestack was taken down. So I was happy about that. You can see, here's a picture from Google Maps overhead of the property, and you can see how the yards of South Kirkland Avenue line up right behind this business. And in fact, we are much closer to that garage than anybody across the street on South Linden Avenue. They've got the house in front, a yard, a street, their yard, so they're quite far away. Now, we just learned that they did get permission to rebuild the garage, but I also want to point out there's been a lot of concreting of the property going on, not all at once, every year. They're always concreting things, and you can see that an awful lot of that property is concreted, and I don't know if that's beyond the limits that are allowed or not. Another thing I want to point out, next to the garage is like a big scrap yard. Lots of junk and trash is in that yard. And it seems like they've been cleaning it out again in the last month since we reported it. Now, I am concerned about, I like to use my yard, my backyard. I moved into that neighborhood because of the nice yard in the house. And I just had people over on Sunday, and I realized if they were still running that business, we would be listening to it. And I'll bring that point up. You asked about weekends. Sunday is the time I've heard them working the most. I wasn't writing all this in a diary, but there was an Easter Sunday. I came home from church and went to sit in my backyard and enjoy the day, and the business was running, clanging and banging on that day. That was a few years ago. In terms of pollution, not every fume can be smelt particularly and testified to, but obviously fumes are going to be coming out of that place, and they're lined up right against our backyards. I brought up the parking, but for me, it's a quality of life issue. Also, I didn't, we all bought into a residential neighborhood. We already live down from Westchester Pike. So you've got the commercial area. We don't need the commercial area to creep down in. And there's a lot of auto body places on Westchester Pike who need the business also and who are paying to run their business in a place that's properly zoned for it. So I think that we need to allow those people that are doing things the right way to have the business. And that's basically what I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. I'll ask Mr. Silvestro if he has any questions for you.
No questions.
No questions. Ms. Howell, any questions for Ms. Lombardi? Ms. Rossi? Mr. Harrison? You want to ask Ms. Lombardi some questions?
Yes, sir.
She's under oath.
Right.
Ms. Blackwell, do you have any questions for Ms. Lombardi? Questions from the board for Ms. Lombardi? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lombardi.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Harrison? We'll have, there we go.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth and the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do. First, I want to make it very, very clear that my wife and I and our neighbors welcome Mr. Mejia and his family into our neighborhood. We do not welcome a car detailing business in our neighborhood. You've seen the pictures of the cars. You've heard the varying situations of past use. I myself am very familiar with power tools. I know the sound of a buffing hand machine, and I have heard it many times, and it goes for some length of time whenever it's being used. These are not 15-minute noise bursts. These are things that will carry on for a whole afternoon. I want to say a little thing about my wife and my investment in Upper Darby. Our address at 29 South Kirkland Avenue was a foreclosed, dilapidated property. We fixed it up. We invested heavily, well over six-figure investment to make it another very pretty residential property on that block, and we have kept it that way for the entire 20 years that we've lived there. It is a residential neighborhood. It is not a business neighborhood. Not only am I concerned about should this variance be granted to Mr. Mejia, but that it would set a precedent for others to want to do it, some sort of business out of their homes. Now, I'm very sorry that Mr. Mejia was laid off. A family man with 5 children, I learned tonight. My heart breaks for it. But that hardship cannot be inflicted on the other neighbors because the expense of having a proper zoned remote location for this business is beyond his ability to pay for it. That is not our problem. I wish we could help him, but we can't do it. Again, the noise levels. It was clear, especially in the summer months, you ask an excellent question. Where that garage, I can only imagine how insufferably hot it gets in there to keep the doors closed. Not to mention whatever fumes are generated, polishing agents, things like that, for the people who would be presumably in an enclosed garage like that. That's a whole nother possible issue from the standpoint of health concerns. Again, I want to say that we're delighted to have Mr. Mahan and his family and his children living here. But he cannot and should not be allowed to operate a business which is clearly going on, especially noticeably during the summer months, when that garage door at least has to be open some of the time, that it is clear that there is some sort of business that is using power machinery going on at that location day after day after day. And again, in closing, welcome to a residential neighborhood. Please be a good neighbor, a residential neighbor, and the best of luck with finding another place to run your business.
Mr. Harrison, you have to stay up here. Counsel?
Thank you, panel. I'm sure Mr. Mejia appreciates your welcome to the neighborhood. Did you ever knock on his door and say, hey, it's too loud?
Personally?
You?
Nope.
Okay, why not?
I didn't want the confrontation. I didn't want the possible confrontation as a complaining neighbor. We went through official channels through L&I.
Sir, have you been to walk by his house lately?
Yeah, yes, I
Okay.
have.
And did you see that he, like yourself, has made a very significant investment in the improvement of his property?
I have, but it hasn't been exclusively a residential improvement. He improved it for the sole purpose, as far as I can tell, of being able to run an auto detailing place on his property. It was not just beautification. As far as I can tell, I see little, if any, greenery put there. My wife and I made our property beautiful with greenery. My wife's a tree tender for Upper Darby. It shows on our property. I have not seen that. I've definitely seen major work, most of it concrete, cinder block, and the like on that property. Not a beautification, and certainly not something that enhanced the residential status only of that property.
Sir, would you agree with me that only the business is run in the back of the property?
I don't know that. I don't know that there hasn't been power washing done outside the business, outside the garage. As we've seen tonight, there's a drain there, certainly suitable for runoff. Power washing is a noisy operation. It pulses, it goes on while the sprayer's on, you might know. It's off temporarily with the machine, with the compressor still on, but then it revs up as soon as the spray is there. That is, as far as my ears can tell me, that has definitely not been exclusively relegated to the interior of that garage.
Okay, sir. Yeah, have you been past the front of the property recently?
Yes,
Okay, then will you agree with me that there is a big sign in the window as a permit that Mr. Mejia has encased the front of his house? It used to be an open porch and now it is enclosed.
yes, I believe that's there.
Okay, wouldn't you say that that shows a certain desire to improve his neighborhood and the community in whole?
If that was the only thing that Mr. Mejia had done was to enclose his porch, I couldn't agree with you more. That is not the only embellishment to the property that Mr. Mejia has done.
Okay. Have you, do you know that he's the contractor or he is the builder of all of the improvements on the front of his house?
I think I knew that.
Okay.
He's a hard worker. Appreciate that.
Is there any way that you could distinguish between the noise that you heard, that you testified to, and perhaps it was as a result of him making improvements to his home? Can you distinguish?
Absolutely not. Is it exclusively a result? The noise I hear and have heard for many, many months, on and off, there was a lull in it when Al and I got involved, is far from exclusively a result of home improvements to embellish a residential dwelling.
Okay, would you agree with me that he also has done other renovations to his home, which would include the removal of the chimney?
Yeah, you removed the chimney.
Okay. And
Let me further on that comment. The fact that it had to be removed, the fact that he would even think to put a smokestack that would stink up, that would be noticeable at a distance from his property speaks volumes. That he took it down speaks volumes, but that he put it up in the first place speaks volumes.
okay, how would you know whether or not he knew that it was traveling to any of his neighbors?
Just look. Just look at the smoke. Watch which way it goes. There was sufficient smoke to be visible and easily discernible as the wind blows.
Nothing further.
Okay, I have one more comment. Can I address one of the other witnesses?
You cannot ask questions of the other witnesses at this point, no.
All right, then I will say this. If I am correct in assuming that Ms. Blackwell is here in support of this variance, then I want to put on the record.
Mr. Harrison, Ms. Blackwell is going to offer testimony next if she has any, and you can direct questions to her at that
Oh,
point if you'd
good,
like.
very good. I will gladly wait.
So I have to, Ms. Howell, do you have any questions for Mr. Harrison? Ms. Rossi? Ms. Lombardi?
I do, as to,
Can you stand up and come up here,
excuse me,
please?
as to whether we ever.
Excuse me.
Oh, you want me to come up? All right. As to whether we ever went to speak to the neighbors, do you remember 2 times, one time about a year ago where I was joking and I
Objection.
told, I'm just trying to say, does he remember me telling him that
It's-
I went? and
It's
spoke
cro-
to the
it's
neighbors?
cross-examination.
She can't plan the answer.
Well, I'm asking if he remembers it. He could say yes or no.
Yeah. I
Okay.
certainly remember her being very distressed by the smell of smoke. I could smell it. And I don't even have a particularly good sense of smell, and I could smell it.
Okay, so you remember that I said that, and then I went and spoke to the people about it.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Blackwell, do you have any questions for Mr. Harrison? Does the board have any questions for Mr. Harrison? No. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. You can have a seat. Thank you. Ms. Blackwell, would you like to offer testimony? Let's have you sworn before you begin.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So for full disclosure, I am the councilwoman here for the 4th District. I saw the zoning sign outside of, I can look outside my house and I can see the business. I've lived at the property, owned the property since 2005. My neighbor, I share twin with my neighbor, Marge, who we politically differ in many areas. So therefore, there is a sign. I do not go to get a detail. I don't get a car wash. I don't do any business with Mr. Octavia. No business at all. This particular year, I asked him, as I've asked many of my neighbors, can I put a sign outside on the lawn? So for full disclosure, there is a sign outside of the lawn. One of my political signs. I just want to let that be known, what my affiliation is. I work from home. I can hear everything in the neighborhood. When I purchased my property, it was very expensive in this area as well. One of the most expensive, to be frank, in the 4th District. I work from a call center. So actually, I don't hear anything because I have earphones on. I don't see problems outside of the area. And to me, it doesn't look like a car wash. It doesn't look bad. I didn't buy my property to be outside of a car wash, so I do understand. I understand you. And I do respect your wishes. I don't have anything else to say. I just want to just state that I don't hear anything because I wear earphones. I do work from home, and I do sit outside after 5 o'clock or 5:30 or 6 when I get a chance to, because I do like to sit outside too and enjoy my property. But I don't hear, or I don't have any complaints.
Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. Mr. Silvestro, do you have any questions for Ms. Blackwell?
First of all, ma'am, thank you for your transparency and your disclosure. How about smell? Do you notice any kind of chemical smell, toxic smell, anything while you're sitting on your porch, windows open, anything of that nature? Do you smell anything coming from the property?
I don't, and I have a Rottweiler. I have a dog that's very sensitive to smell. I don't smell anything.
You notice any odd behavior in your Rottweiler?
No, I don't.
Okay. During the course of your day, you ever take a break and on a nice day, walk about your neighborhood?
I do.
Okay. Have you ever noticed during any of those walks that there was a smell, a noise, or anything that would degrade the quality of your neighborhood when you walk past the property at 40 South Linden?
Nothing to degrade the property. You hear noise, you do hear machinery, but it's not like outrageous, or it's normal, like a lawnmower. It's not louder than the trash trucks.
Okay. Did you notice that Mr. Mejia had made an addition to the front of his house
I noticed it.
and that he did all the work?
I didn't know who did it, but it was done very quickly and very professionally. It looked nice. I mean, I knew the property when it was not in that condition as well.
Would you say that since he's been in the property, it's been an upgrade?
He is upgraded. He's definitely upgraded.
Do you think that he has respect for the neighborhood?
I do.
You think he's a good neighbor?
He's a good neighbor.
Nothing more.
Thank you, Mr. Silvestro. Ms. Howell, do you have any questions for Ms. Blackwell? If you can come up so that the court reporter can hear you.
I'm just curious, as our representative, did it occur to you to perhaps talk to the neighbors and ask them about their concerns for that property?
So this wouldn't be an appropriate time to ask her about her official status. She's here as a resident.
Well, as a neighbor,
Oh, okay, you can ask her as a neighbor to neighbor,
as a
I
concerned
guess.
neighbor, did it ever occur to you to perhaps discuss that with the rest of the neighbors? Would you, sign language, Bob?
Danielle, could you go to the mic so you can?
It did occur to me, but honestly, my time has just been incredibly just serving the people. So yes, I think I've stopped by many neighbors' homes and asked what's going on and what can I do, but yes, of course, has occurred to me.
Okay, I haven't seen you at my door, but okay. No, I do not.
Right, thank you. Ms. Rossi, do you have any questions for Ms. Blackwell? Ms. Lombardi?
No.
Mr. Harrison? Yes. Please come up to the microphone.
And this is a question for Ms. Blackwell.
Correct.
Have you seen more than 3 cars, not infrequently, parked on the driveway and on the curb in the immediate vicinity of this property right across from your house?
Have I seen more than 3 cars in front?
Yep.
Honestly, I haven't had time to see it. I go through my back. In the front,
So you haven't noticed it?
I have not seen 3 cars in the front.
Okay. So you've not seen that?
I haven't seen.
But that's because you use a different entrance to your
I
house?
use a different entrance to my home. Yes, I use a different entrance to my home.
Can I ask one of the board members to show Ms. Blackwell the photograph showing the cars in front of this property for her information?
Are you referencing one of the other?
One of those handouts you have is a clear
whose
picture.
Whose exhibit would you like us to reference?
Lombardi's.
If you have, you can ask Ms. Blackwell about L1 if you'd like.
Good. Thank you.
Do you have a question, Mr. Harrison?
Yes, I'm waiting for Ms. Blackwell to take a look at that picture.
Okay.
That's acceptable to you?
Objection. There's no context, no date, no time. There has been testimony that this was taken years ago.
No, the date is on.
Hold on. We're not going to yell out. I believe the picture.
What's the
is
date on the
marked as-
picture, Ms. Blackwell?
I believe the picture has been identified as.
2017?
Thank you, 2017.
Can we not speak over each other? Thank you. I believe this picture that Mr. Harrison is referencing has been marked as March 2023.
Right.
The previous picture was on that page is marked as 2017 in testimony.
Thank you. A little bit of pertinent history.
This is just questions for Ms. Blackwell, Mr. Harrison.
Okay. Do you recall that there was an auto repair place at the other end of South Linden Street up at Westchester Pike called Ara's Auto Body?
What's the objection?
I'll show its relevance very shortly.
Ms. Blackwell, do you recall that establishment?
Yes.
It's since been destroyed by fire a month or so ago. But I recall distinctly Miss Blackwell voicing her displeasure with Ara.
This is questions, Mr. Harrison.
Yep. Do you recall voicing your displeasure that Ara had parked a car, one car, for a prolonged period of time in front of your house?
They parked several cars, so yes.
Okay, yes. One car raised Ms. Blackwell's displeasure. And yet, look at those pictures.
Mr. Harrison, this is just questions.
Phrase it as a question. All right. How can one car parked in front of your house elicit displeasure from you when a half a dozen or more cars parked right across the street from your house get your consent?
It wasn't,
There's never been any testimony about consent.
Her presence right here now is consent.
Mr. Harrison, I think I believe you've made your point.
Thank you. I sure hope I have. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Blackwell? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. You can return to your seat.
Okay, thank you.
We have gone through everyone. I guess we'll now ask for public, if there's any public comment on this application. Just statements in support or opposition of this application. You can come forward. Please just state your name.
My name is Margaret Patterson. I live at 35 South Linden Avenue, directly across from 40 South Linden Avenue. I've lived there for 40-some years, and I do not have any problem with what's been going on across the street from me. They are just trying to make a living, and, you know, they're moving their cars as fast as they can to get something to put food on the table. And I don't understand any of this carrying on tonight, just to be honest.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Patterson.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Sir, please come forward. Mr. Harrison, this is public comment.
Yes. I vigorously oppose the continuation of this auto detailing business in front of our house. I'm sorry for the hardship that the resident there is facing financially, but that's no reason to inflict this kind of precedent in our residential neighborhood. Not only do I oppose this, but I oppose it because it is a precedent for others who move into the neighborhood and want to, whatever reason, turn their residential home into a location for a business. When I first heard of this, it was unthinkable that anyone would do that, let alone be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Sir, if you want to come forward and state your name.
Good evening, guys. My name is Stephen D'Antonio. I own the body shop at Township Line in Westchester Pike. Oh, Stephen D'Antonio. Stephen D'Antonio. I'm actually a client of Ottaviano. I've been to his property several times. He keeps it clean, keeps it organized. As Ms. Blackwell said, there's a drain in front, so there's no water going on the street, disturbing any of the blacktop. Everything that he does, he gets a permit for. The garage was built by a permit. The chimney you guys were talking about, it was a fireplace for heat in the garage. He got a complaint, he took it down. The front of it, this attorney's saying, he got a permit. He's doing everything by the book. He's just an honest guy trying to make an honest dollar. Half a block down the street, years ago when I was a kid, there was a detail center there. In the garage right down the street. Then it turned into a chimney cleaning. Right down the street from that is a construction company with an electric company, right there. On the other corner, their smell they could be doing is a fire extinguisher repair place. Or the carpet cleaner, they clean carpets out front. That could be a chemical smell. It's an industrial area. I don't understand why, he's just washing cars. Honest guy trying to make an honest living in today's world and society. That's all he's trying to do. Thank you guys very much.
Antonio. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Silvestro, would you like to offer any closing remarks?
Just briefly, Your Honor, it's very, or panel members, I should say, it's late. I don't want to belabor the point. I think that what we have here is a lot of assumption, and I certainly don't mean to disrespect the opinions of the neighbors who have testified, but we have a person who's done everything in their power to try to keep this confined. It is having very little impact on the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, the people that are facing the property have absolutely no experiences about noise, about smell, about traffic. He's done everything that he possibly could. I would suggest to and submit to the panel that this is an accessory use. It's a permissible use of his property. I think that within boundaries, there is absolutely no reason why he cannot continue running his business. I just want to also direct the panel's attention to the fact that there were two enforcement letters that were in play here. One of them had actual two violations. Number one, for running the business, but the other one was for parking on the lawn. When he was addressed by members of L&I, that enlightened him that he was no longer allowed to do that. He was issued a second enforcement letter, which had only the business as it, which meant that he came into compliance. And I am sure that there have been many, many checks by L&I to make sure that he was in compliance. And therefore, that is proof that he took down the chimney when he was supposed to. He stopped parking the cars on the lawn when he was supposed to. As such, guy's trying to make a living. I'd ask that you permit him to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silvestro. Is the, we'll go into executive session at this point. Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. All right, we're back from executive session.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we deny this case. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, panel.
You receive a written
Okay.
decision within 45 days.
Thank you.
Any other business?
Motion to adjourn?